I saw your sons and your husbands, your brothers and your sweethearts. I saw how they worked, played, fought, and lived. I saw some of them die. I saw more courage, more good humor in the face of discomfort, more love in an era of hate, and more devotion to duty that could exist under tyranny. And I came back to find people exulting over the 1,000-plane raids over Germany and saying how wonderful they were. Those people never watched the face of a pilot as he read a bulletin board and saw his buddy marked up missing. Those 1,000-plane raids were wonderful only because of the courage and spirit of the men who made them possible, until a lot more of us realize what our men went through in planes and tanks and landing barges and on foot in mud, desert, and on the beaches. It will always be tough to talk to the men coming back. I didn't see it all, and God knows I didn't do any fighting, but I was there. All I want you to know is that I did see your sons and your daughters in the uniforms of the United States of America, fighting for the United States of America. This book, this remembrance, is dedicated to those who so valiantly served in World War II, the American GIs and men and women of the Allied armed forces, notably those who sacrificed their lives to protect our freedom. Chapter 1. There won't be war. Although Hitler's tyranny was not ignored, it did not appear to be a threat to the United States. After all, it was 1939, and America was thousands of miles away from any conflict. For me, the year was a good one. I had a couple of films playing nationwide and had completed a successful first year on radio for NBC. As a treat for hard work, my wife Dolores and I planned a European holiday with a major stop in England for a reunion with my family. My parents were English. We were too poor to be British. And after all, I had left when I was 4. Surely all had been forgiven by now. We set sail on the Normandy in July with plans to return on the Queen Mary in mid-September. As we boarded our ship, a newsman asked if we feared the war clouds hanging over the continent and Hitler's threats. "There won't be a war," I said with great confidence. I've had to eat those words for all the decades that followed. We had a great time visiting with my relatives outside London. Then Dolores and I made our way to Paris. But our trip was cut short. Americans were beginning to sense what seemed so clear to international observers. Hitler's troops were poised to march. The U.S. Embassy issued a warning to all U.S. citizens abroad, urging them to return home. I spent the night on the transatlantic telephone with Paramount executives and NBC radio brass who wanted me home as soon as possible. Rumors were flying that the August 30th sailing of the Queen Mary might be the last civilian crossing, so Dolores and I scrambled to Southampton. On September 3rd, Hitler invaded Poland. England and France declared war on Germany the same day. Early on the morning of September 4th, the passengers got the news. Dolores came back to the cabin from Mass and woke me. "You were wrong," she said. "England is at war." "Now, Dolores, Bobby ought to see what's going on. People are sobbing. One woman stopped me and said there are German submarines waiting for the order to sink this ship. They've issued blackout instructions and people are scared." "There's nothing to be frightened about," I said. I don't think Dolores believed me. It may have been the pitch of my voice that gave me away. We were supposed to do a ship's concert that night, and now I didn't know if we should. I went to see the captain. He wanted the show to go on. "Comedy is exactly what the passengers need at this time," he said. So I spent the rest of the afternoon putting together a routine and writing special lyrics to Thanks for the Memory. That night was the closest I'd ever come to having stage fright. Forget the stage. Like everyone else, I was plain frightened. But after a few minutes, the pending tragedy was forgotten for a little while, and we had some fun. My opening joke was, "The steward told me when I got on board, if anything happens, it's women and children first. But the captain said, in your case, you can have your choice." I closed the show with a parody I had written that afternoon. Thanks for the memory of this great ocean trip on England's finest ship. Though they packed them to the rafters, they never made a slip. Ah, thank you so much. Thanks for the memory. Some folks slept on the floor, some in the corridor. But I was more exclusive. My room had gentlemen above the door. Ah, thank you so much. That crossing felt like it took an eternity. When we finally docked in New York, everyone received a warm welcome from anxious relatives. Unknown to us, the Queen Mary's sister ship, Athenia, had just been sunk by the Germans. Once back home on solid ground, I busied myself with The Road to Singapore, the first road movie, with Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour. I followed this with a second film, Ghostbreakers, and my radio show, which was well on its way to becoming #1 in the ratings. The war in Europe still seemed far away, far enough for us to take some comic jabs at Der Führer. For those of you who know your history, Hitler's armies had overrun most of Western Europe and threatened to invade Great Britain. Our country went to great measures to maintain an outward show of neutrality while supplying Britain with much-needed war material. Neutral or not, there was a war buildup, and the lifestyle for most Americans was changing. Recruiting posters started showing up touting slogans like, "Join the Army, travel."